He got a letter from the city saying he was being fined $1 million for violations committed from the prior owner of his house.
So this actually happens a lot. We're going to talk about how not for this to happen to you. As a real estate investor, as a real estate professional, I see people inherit liens, encumbrances, assessments, things they didn't know prior to buying the property. And here's what happened to this guy. Check this out.
And bought his home that was in foreclosure 10 years ago and rebuilt it.
I mean, that's just my nature.
But then he was handed something old that stunned him.
And when I opened them and read them, it was like having a bomb dropped on me. I just couldn't believe it.
The city of Oakland Park sent him a letter notifying him he had to pay a fine. Listen to the amount.
The letter said that I owed the city over $1 million for code violation fines from the time before I bought the house.
So this is one of the main reasons why, one, you always use a title company. Two, you always do a municipal lien search and make sure when you purchase title from the title company that you're also paying for a municipal lien search and any like open permits, things like that, because they're not always included at every title company.
To be specific, $1,097,400 for 4 minor violations the previous owner had committed before Denny bought the house in foreclosure.
Petty things like overgrown weeds, trash in the carport.
Make sure you're doing that. Don't just do this on the courthouse steps. If you're paying cash for a property, you need to make sure that your real estate agent, your attorney are doing these type of, assessments. If your real estate agent is ghosting you on this, find another real estate agent. Make sure you're communicating with the title company, because code enforcement, a lot of times people purchase properties cheaper than usual because they're willing to take over the code enforcement fines. Sometimes you'll have fines for the most random stuff: sidewalks, unsafe work on the property, overgrown grass, wiring, problems, an RV sitting in the wrong spot of the yard. I mean, my friend got one the other day for his RV being too close to the side of the property line. $100 fine a day in perpetuity until it was resolved. These can stack up with interest, so know what you're doing when you buy a property. See, with interest, these things. And a lot of times you can call code enforcement. Sometimes you can cut a deal with them. Hey, look, I'm willing to fix this property up. It's got this giant fine on it. Nobody's going to buy this property, this giant fine on it. I'm willing to pay half of it if you'll just let it go. We'll fix the property up and we'll make it not an eyesore anymore. Sometimes you can do that. Depending on your municipality. If code enforcement had any sense, they would do this all the time and get all these properties moving up, fixed, flipped, and property tax coming in on them, instead of them just being this massive homeless encampment.
Title company had told Denny there were no fines or liens when he bought the property. Denny says Oakland Park never notified him of the fines until now, 10 years later.
The township, the code enforcement, the local municipality is not going to come and tell you. They're just going to keep fining you. Usually they'll send it or stick it on the door, or they'll send it to whatever address it's on file. The title company, this is why you need title insurance. This is why you use a reputable title company. This is why you use a reputable, try to get a title company with an attorney so you can ask these questions, because you want somebody to be responsible if they just miss this. Title companies just miss this stuff sometimes. Not all the time, but every once in a while, and you want somebody to be held responsible. But, also understand that title companies are attorneys usually, and you're just like suing a brick wall. It's kind of hard. So just kind of understand this before you get in it. Get an agent. If you've never bought a property before, use a real estate agent. If you have bought a lot of properties and you think you're going to just go out and do it on your own, and you don't want to use a real estate agent, well, understand that if you are buying cash, there's nobody in between you making a dumb mistake, and they're not going to hold your hand. The title company is just going to be like, here's how much you owe, wire it here, and good luck. So that's the tricky part of all this.
They were clearing out old files and they came across my file, and that's how this started.
Obviously, Denny told the city official he couldn't afford $1 million fine. The response?
You need to call the collection agency and negotiate a settlement.
Denny can fix anything, but not this thing.
In my area, they recently they purged a lot of permits, they purged a lot of files, and then they even got hacked. And then all of a sudden they're putting these documents back online, they find stuff, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, in 1956 there was a blah 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 and we just missed it, so we need you to pay this. And you have to know your rights. You need to know exactly what to do next. You need to know when to hire an attorney, when not to. And that's where he found himself.
Because this is a monster that's way too big for me to handle. You guys are aces with helping people in predicaments.
I don't know about that, Denny, but can a city allow fines to grow for 10 years and then come after you? Howard?
Yes, they can. Government agencies do not have to notify a new owner about the fines, allowing them to grow. But in this case, the city cannot do this to Denny because he bought the property in foreclosure, and that wiped out any existing liens and fines that the city had.
This is a half-truth, okay? Know what kind of foreclosure you're getting. Know whether it's a tax sale, know whether it's a lien, a mortgage, like is it foreclosed owned by the bank, is it bank owned, or is it just in Les Pendes? You got to know these things if you're going to go down this rabbit hole. Make sure you know what's going on with your deal, and every deal is different.
I contacted Oakland Park. They moved quickly. They checked into the case and wrote, in this 2010 case, the property was not brought into compliance before it was foreclosed upon. The city was not notified of the foreclosure. The city then did what Denny wanted, removed the lien and wiped out the $1 million plus fines.
Without you guys,
Make sure there's no open permits, because the worst thing you could inherit is you having to close out some stupid permit for a roof, an HVAC, a plumbing permit, something the county just won't let go. And in my county, they instituted this dumb thing now where you have to have, it's got to be probated before you can solve the open permit on mom's house. It used to be very simple to solve that problem. Now they want you to have a notice of commencement signed after probate. Crazy. That's why you got to have a lawyer most of the time if you're wanting to be a wildcat real estate professional. No, I'm not an attorney. I am just the guy that does this all the time as a real estate agent, as an investor. There are certain things attorneys are not going to do. They're not going to go hang out at the county, figure out about your permits. That's your real estate agent. That's you. That's the person in the deal doing the due diligence. A lot of times an attorney is only going to do the memorandums and the legal work. When it comes to the legwork, going down and finding out about why you can't build something or all these things, an attorney is just not going to, he's not going to go stand in line at the permit department. And if he does, it's going to be $1,000 an hour. And that is where the person buying has to do the due diligence, and that's where the real estate agent has to use his savvy or her savvy in the deal. It's just the way it works out. Everybody wants to say, well, legal advice versus, attorney versus real estate agent. There's a gray area there in most states. And an attorney is just going to tell you, I'm not doing that. It's just honestly the way these things work out. And usually as a buyer, as an investor, if you're going to do this a lot, you need to know all these things. You need to be well-versed in a lot of these things. And that's where the money's made. That's where the deals are made, is knowing the ins and outs of the process. Well, I'm glad to hear he got this fixed. When you have questions on some of these properties during the due diligence period, because I'm a real estate agent, I deal with this all the time, just call the county, call the city, like, hey, is there any open permits? Oh, there is. Well, is there a reason why it's open? Sometimes they're like, oh, we just forgot to close it out. We'll help you with that. And then sometimes they're like, no. I have this problem with solar panels all the time. Solar panel open permits for solar panels that were never installed. Yeah, I know. So just be aware of all this. I'm glad he got this fixed. Comment down below if you've seen something random like this so we can all learn from each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're looking to buy or sell real estate on the Gulf Coast of Florida, Alabama, my email is down below. Happy to help you. If I can't, I will find somebody that can. But I hope this video helped. It was very interesting hearing this story because I've seen this happen on the more minor scale, $10, $15, $20, $30, $50,000. But you will find, especially if there was a building there prior to you buying the property, like a random building that was demolished, or there was a house there and there's not now, it's vacant land, or there's a house there and there's a bunch of encumbrances, there's a bunch of trash in the yard, you bought it as a scrapper's yard, you bought it at a discount for a reason. Understand these things. But I'll see you guys in the next video. I thought this was an interesting one. See you later.